Okay, so Jeremy, I was watching episode 6 of this season, Sunflower, and I see you get up on the stage, and my first thought is, oh, it looks like he's actually playing. So I did a quick Google just to see, do you actually play? And lo and behold, you are an established musician. So I would love to know all about the background of this jazz sequence moment this season coming to be kind of your influence on creating that scene and hear a little bit about your career as a musician.
All right. Sure. Well, of course, I did play in what was it, episode 8 or 9 in the first season. But I was playing on my own, and they kind of cut it together. It made no sense at all. I wish I'd just done a sort of track actually. So, but yeah, and then I played in the second season. Only I didn't have a pickup, so you couldn't hear me at all. So, yeah. So, but you know, the creatives knew that I did play the bass and sort of incorporated that from the outset, sort of thing. But yeah, Sunflowers was a little moment to show it off a little bit more, yeah, which was great fun, and I'm very appreciative of Brendan Hunt for writing that episode. And it hangs in with the theme. It's so clever, the writers, what a track to use, Let's Get Lost,
Mm.
and sort of find yourself again, ostensibly. But Brendan lived, as you may or may not know, lived in Amsterdam for a long time, and he did frequent. In fact, he took us to a jazz club whilst we were there, and I was sat with Charlie, who plays Will, and there was a couple, and this is after it had been written, right?
No, right.
There was a couple at a table or two away from us who were fully passionate, going for
Oh, so
it.
you're pulling from real life, that couple just attacking each other's
No,
faces.
it was like real life imitating art. We were right at the front. Yeah, it was just like, what? Yeah. But no, musician wise, my parents were music teachers, and I'm often asked if I know anything about sport, and I don't know. I didn't know. We weren't sport family at all. We were into music, and my mum and dad were in choirs and things like that, and they taught the recorder and arranged songs for the schools that they taught at, and so I learned piano and violin when I was a kid, and inevitably I was more into rock and punk and stuff like that. And so I've always tinkered around making music. I had a synthesizer when I was about 14. Unfortunately, it only played one note all the way up, which was it was quite a cheap one, that somebody had made themselves. Yeah, so I've tinkered about, and I still do, and brought out an album
Yeah.
very recently. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, if I do say so, it's very good. And I've worked on it for ages. It's only 8 tracks, but they're very substantial, and I've worked with a fantastic producer, and it's very layered, textured. It's not just an old bloke playing a ukulele. These are some songs I brought down from the mountain. It's they're conceptual, and yeah, it's cool. I'm very, very pleased with it. Yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful kind of additional element to Higgins' character, and I'm glad they worked that in. At some point, if you ever run into Brendan Gleeson, I learned earlier this year he performed all his own fiddle stuff in the Banshees of Inisheer, and so the two of you guys
Yes.
got to get like a string quartet going at some
Ah,
point.
yeah, I did know
Um,
that. Yeah.
so I think obviously your character is one of the most interesting in the show because everyone else has a lot going on chaotically in their life. And Higgins is he's one of the only people who at least outwardly is kind of stable. He is kind of the consistent glue when everyone else is going a little bit insane. So
Yeah.
tell me about kind of being in many ways kind of the backbone of this team and these characters to keep them from spiraling.
Yes. Well, it makes sense to have a character, as you say, of some stability like Higgins, because otherwise it's everybody's running around like headless chickens, and you want somebody to have some. Well, it's not exactly gravitas he's got, but it's everything is relative. But what's clever is that they don't just make him this, Buddha like character who imparts wisdom, pearls of wisdom at the drop of a hat. He doesn't even know that he's going to say what he says. So he's a kind of, he does it almost accidentally. So that's a great idea. That just stops any kind of cliche. And it also, men over 60 in sitcoms are often the butt of the joke, or
Mm-hmm.
the they're not exactly unpleasant, but they're kind of a little bit sour, or they're idiots. And it's nice to have somebody, a male character over 60, that's sort of respected, although he wasn't
Yeah.
particularly in the first season, but has come to be. Yeah, certainly.
Well, I think that's one of the most interesting things you've done with this character is fleshing him out from this kind of sniveling sycophant to someone who, I mean, you are kind of the wise elder statesman, and by this most recent season, someone who's even willing to raise doubts about Ted, who's someone who's very close, he's very close to, you know. So tell me a little bit about kind of bringing Higgins out of his shell and really kind of turning him into this very earnest, strong person who speaks his mind.
Yeah, well, I think what the upgrade of Higgins that happened at the end of season one enabled him to do was to do his job properly and work for the club. So that even when it comes down to possibly getting rid of Ted, which again is done in a really fantastically comic way because he sort of sidesteps it constantly during that scene, and then he retorts when Rebecca says, "What? Get rid of Ted?" That he didn't. That when did he actually say that? So again, it's a really great idea, and I think ostensibly he wants to do his job properly, and he wants, you know, I think my backstory for Higgins is that he's been a fan for a long time of the club and wanted to play for them, but was useless, at being a player. So wanted to do anything he could to support them. And you know how people do, they tag their life to, a team or a band or whatever. So I think that's his ultimate motivation, is to upgrade the team in the same way that he has been. And he's seen the possibility, and Ted has raised the game and, took them out of the doldrums. And it's very exciting. And how much further can we go with this? Can we go, can we do a Leicester City and go really, really as far as we can? So yeah, that's his goal. That's his aim now.
Yeah. Well, so you've had a very established career as a character actor, someone who's never really gotten the appreciation you deserved until Ted Lasso, and Ted Lasso's wrapping up. So what do you kind of see for yourself going forward? What would you like? Would you want a spin-off show, or is there a role you would love to play just in general?
Well, I would. There are so many possibilities out there. It's difficult to, yeah, and my experience has taught me that if you if you aim for something in particular, it doesn't necessarily work out. That something else will come along. But I always like to do, when I do one job, I like the next job to be have a different aesthetic and be a different character, and that's what shakes it up for me. So and even if it is similar character, my job then is to try and be as different as possible as I have just been. So I do have stuff going on, and I have some self-orientated projects, and as well as the album, of course, which I'm promoting this summer, and my new single. Can't stop doing it. And there are some possibly exciting, American projects. We'll just
Ooh,
see what happens with, because I have my green card now. So
congratulations.
thank you. We'll have to see what happens with strikes and whatnot, which I support.
Yeah.
And let's hope we get a good result from all that.
So I should expect to see you though as playing just like a real bastard next time you're on screen because it's the opposite of Higgins, basically.
Well, yeah, that would be really, it would be nice to really turn it around in that way, for to really shock people, or to play something who's as seemingly, agreeable as Higgins, but then he is a serial killer, after all.
Okay, I want to see that show. That's the
Yeah,
Higgins backstory we didn't know about.
yeah. Oh.
Okay, last question. Where was your jazz hat? Your fedora. Where was your fedora when we're in
Oh.
when we're
I
playing
look. I
in
basically
Amsterdam?
look. I basically look. I think there's only one hat that I wear, that I can never wear, which is a kind of beret on the back of my head. But mostly, I look like Benny Hill in all hats. Any hat in the world. And Brendan Hunt very much wanted me to wear, a trilby, really. And I went into a trailer, and the costume said, "There's a few hats for you to check out." And I went into this trailer. I think there was about 46 hats in there. And I tried of every kind of, mostly trilbies, but of every color in the world. And I tried them all on, and I didn't like them. And Brendan, will have to say, was a little bit upset that I didn't wear a hat. But I thought, no, I can't do. I want him to look a bit cool for once, and I just don't look cool in hats, I'm afraid.
I'm
So
glad you stood your ground there.
I
Yeah,
did,
no,
yeah.
I can't pull off
It
hats
was a
either.
bit of a tough one. Yeah, I texted him and said, I really don't like the hats, and he, all caps. Well, don't wear them then. Like, oh no.
Oh, it's interesting seeing Beard get angry. We don't see that a lot either. So. Okay, well, thank you so much, and I'm so glad that this show has really kind of gotten you to really explode after years of good performances. At least across the pond. I'm glad people finally start appreciating your work.
Oh,
Because I remember seeing you pop up, I think, at Foyle's War and Downton Abbey, and so it's
yeah,
it's nice that you are really getting the appreciation you deserve, and this has been a wonderful character. I know we've all loved seeing Higgins grow on screen, so thank you for everything you've brought us.
Oh, appreciate that. That's really sweet of you. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah.